Hi, how are you all? Good. That was. Is this from my spruiking 4 minutes ago? Is this the response that we've got? It's pretty good. Okay. Yep. That's getting there. All right, guys. So what we'll do is start in about 2 minutes. We'll see who else is going to come along. Hey, but thanks for coming along. Really appreciate it. Today's going to be pretty cool. I'm actually looking forward to this session that I do quite a fair bit, whether it's in groups or whether it's one-on-ones. A lot of the stuff I do, just give you some background about me. I'm a psychologist, so I've been a psychologist for a while now. And the driver that I had for this stemmed ever since I was a kid. I was always fascinating people, and I was always a carer. My dad used to say this, he goes, he couldn't believe it. Like, I was a fat little kid, like when I was 4 or 5, and I had big curly hair. And although I always had food, before anybody else would eat, or before I would eat, I'd always offer it out to everybody else. And Dad would always say, he goes, you were always such a giver, and you were always caring about people if they had enough to eat or not. And I went, you know what, that's sort of giving me a sign of what I like to do, is hang out with people and look after people. So it was naturally that I evolved into this. Also was a massage therapist for many years, so I got to deal with a whole lot of clients, and I've seen a lot of patterns in life. And what I've seen a lot is basically people are living a life and they're just existing, but they're not living by purpose or by their values. And some of us will have little windows of it. Like, how many of you there think that you're really living a life, and I think most of you are, where you can actually articulate what your purpose is or what your values are? How many of you? Yep. You want to share?
So my purpose is to constantly feel the sense of belonging and love in my family with my kids and my stepkids. And my purpose is to grow a business successfully and sell it within 3 years.
Nice. What type of business do you have?
It's a outdoor digital wayfinding for pedestrians.
Nice.
Mm.
And what motivated you to do that?
The truth, or
No. I love the credit. Do you want the truth? Am I pitching here? Am I getting money for this? No.
no? I used to have a big demanding corporate job, GM sales in a software listed company, and I got really burnt out and fed up and frustrated with the hideousness of how people are. And so I just stopped and thought, oh, surely I can find something to do. And then I just came up with the idea one day, taking my kids to sport. Yeah. And that's when I went, all right, let's do it.
Yeah. So there was a lot of frustration for you to actually leave.
Oh, I had to really have all the bridges burned behind me before I would do it.
Yeah, nice strategy. I like that. Let's just burn every bridge. I don't want to ever come back. It's like, let me just get rid of all these bridges here. How do you feel now moving out? 'Cause this is a big step. Moving out and then going to something of the unknown, we'll call it. How do you feel about that?
51% terror, 49% excitement.
Nice, I like that. Yeah, and that's what you need. That's the perfect combination. Absolutely. So what was your name again?
Caroline.
Caroline, thanks so much for sharing. Did you want to share as well? You put up your hand.
Go on, be brave.
Caroline.
So what was the question?
Are you aware of what values drive your goals or motivate you? Yeah.
Am I aware of what values? Well, definitely. I mean, right now, I'm trying to figure out how I could contribute to the education system. I don't know if here or in Finland. I'm from Finland originally, and yeah, and I used to do substitute teaching when I was in Finland. Contemplating on going back to school, and right now I do counseling and hypnotherapy. But I'm trying to figure out like what I should study, because I know what I'm interested in, but I don't know how it what's the pathway to where I want to go.
Okay, so with hypnotherapy and counselling, is that something that you want to pursue and take on?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that I want to work with children, but yeah, but I want to study physics, so it's kind of like I don't know how to. Yeah, so I'm kind of like haven't figured everything out yet. So
How old are you, by the way?
I'm 22.
Oh, wow. You are really inspirational. So you've already got, 89% there of what direction you're heading in. So that's really exciting. You know you like working with kids, you know you like education, and from a hypnotherapist and counsellor perspective, you like to help.
Yeah.
So that's getting
Yeah. Emilia.
Alrighty, thank you. All right, we'll have plenty of time for questions later on. So this is basically what we do. We have a look at why we do things and what moves us and what motivates us. So let's go for, I'm going to give you some stats to start off with. G'day, how are you? Good to see you, Mark. All right, so what we've got is, these are the facts. In Australia, 40% of society will actually set goals. Go out and set goals, and it'll normally, like, it'll be beginning of the year, right? Did anybody set goals this year? Just out of curiosity? How many of us wrote them down? Okay, cool. How are we going with them so far? Go on. It's a safe group, we can all share.
It's a work in progress.
Yep. How do you, and we'll get to this later, you don't have to answer it. Did you make more than one goal? Do you have several goals that you planned for?
Several goals.
Okay, and what topics were they under?
More time with my son, income level, what I was doing.
Cool. Okay, so which one's overridden the other two?
Probably what I was doing.
Yep.
Probably what I'm doing now. So I build up more time with my son and build up my income.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for being so honest. So what was your name? Alex, yeah, Alex, this is what happens is we sort of get focused in one area and the two others. Have you guys ever had that where you go onto one thing and then other things start to suffer? Yeah, so I get this a lot. I get this a lot and now what we're going to work out today is what's the really important one? Or how do we get a balance between all three? Because you can achieve all three, there's no problem with that. It's just how do you actually put a system in place or a process in place to actually get that done? Who else has got goals that have hit? Georgia, you said you had goals. What are your goals for this year?
Some of the classics, just sleep more, eat better, I don't know, cook. Being a grown-up. I don't know. That stuff.
Hello? Being grown up, well, we never grow up, Georgia. That's one thing we do. So this is what happens. 40% of us will set goals at some point. 92% of us, guess what that represents? Don't succeed. They have really good intentions, but they don't succeed. They just drop off. Have you guys ever done that? Like, I've been a multi-millionaire in January in my head, I think, for the last 40 years. And then I get around about this time of the year and I go, oh, Tone, you don't want to be a millionaire. It'll take you away from hanging out with your mates. Like, and then you'll change as a person. I'll start to justify why, and then I'll work out, guess what? It's a little bit too hard, isn't it? So stuff it. So the question is why? Why do we set them out and why do we do that and why do they drop off? Now let's have a look at this. We're going to go into three things. We're going to have a look at the 8% of how people actually succeed in their goals and how they do really well. What I focus on as a therapist is value-driven goals. So I think we'll look at internal, external influences that actually get us motivated towards our goals. You'll develop your own today. So if you've got a pen and paper or even a tablet, just take it out at some point. There'll be 5 key questions that I'll ask you. And you can take photos of it or whatever and use it whenever you can. And I'll share with you stories on how clients have used this to get them through certain times. And the times that you're going to use is not when you're absolute peak, right? You're going to use these questions when you're at your lowest low. And the idea of that is that you don't want to go any lower, but you want a strategy on how you can slowly climb out of somewhere. And if your values are in touch with what you want to drive towards, you'll get out a lot sooner than later. And your self-esteem will rise as well. And this is not an easy thing to do. It's quite difficult. I make it sound really easy, but it is not. Because when you're in your lowest low, where does your mindset go to? Happy thoughts or negative? Negative. And guess what happens with negativity? Do you think it just keeps on building on negativity or does it try to attract to positive? Yeah, it keeps on going down, 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 down. So that's what we don't want. So, and at the end of the session, we'll do setting up yourself for success, 5 easy hints how to do that. All right, so let's have a look at this. I can't even switch that off. Why do we set goals? Now, when I ask this question here, I want you to have a chat to the person next to you. What's the purpose of setting a goal? Have a 10-second chat with somebody next to you. What's the purpose of us setting goals? Nice to meet you, man. That's awesome. All right, ladies and gents, let's have a look. All right. Let's see if we've got some commonalities here. Why do we set goals? What are the purpose? Who wants to throw out some random answers? Guys up the back? What did you guys come up with? Yeah. Yep. Yep. Awesome. Absolutely. To maintain focus. Absolutely beautiful answer. What about over here? What do you guys have? There you go, sir.
To get that sense of accomplishment when you finally complete the goal.
Yep.
So there's that motivating factor to feel good when you're done.
Yeah, to feel good, it's pretty simple, isn't it? It's that, like, I don't want to feel like crap, but if I know if I actually do this, I'll feel good about myself. Really good point. So focus, feeling good about yourself. Why else? It's another reason. You guys there? Yeah, come on. He does. I look at him and he does this. He goes, "Oh, me? What is it for you?" Sure. Yep, absolutely. So just the focus and on things that are important. Okay, so they're really good answers. What I'm going to do is I'm going to draw you up a little thing that, and you can take a photo once it's done. So when we have a look at what motivates us and why we drive goals, we've all got motivators where it's to feel good. I love your answer, by the way. What was your name? Matt's got the best answer ever. I set goals because I want to feel good. Yeah? That's most the best answer I've ever heard. Because you know what? Let's break it down. Let's get really simple. You don't set a goal to feel like crap, right? The total opposite of that is to feel good. So what do we want to do most of the time is feel good. But the brain's got a really funny way of operating. There's a thing called a pain-pleasure principle. Have you heard of that? Okay, if you haven't, you would have absolutely with your counselling background. The brain will move away from pain at any cost and move towards pleasure most of the time. So think about this way. A really good question you can ask yourself. What's something that you can do that will be painful to start off with, but gives you long-term happiness? Something painful to do initially, but give you long-term happiness. And the flip side of that question is, what's something that gives you instant gratification and pleasure, but leaves you with a taste of bitterness? So for example, the easiest one is, let's say, who's ever been on a diet or knows a friend who's been on a diet? Oh, it's never us, it's our friends. You look at you up in the back, it's like, yeah. All right, so, and you always do this, you go, oh, you know what? They're on a diet and they might go and have a biscuit and they really want a biscuit. Is that short-term happiness or long-term happiness? Short-term. How much regret is actually associated to that? Heaps. Heaps and heaps and heaps. You beat yourself up and you go, stuff it, I've had one biscuit, guess what? I might as well have another. And because I live on my own, nobody's going to eat the rest of this packet, so I might as well. And then we'll start tomorrow. And it just compounds and it goes on and on. So let's have a look at this, how it works out. Okay, I'll give you a really nice one of why we set goals and what happens to our brains. So a really nice, easy model is something where we start with our attitude. Attitude up there is how we think and how we feel about ourselves. So let's have a look at, let's go with relationships. Who's in a relationship knows somebody who's in a relationship or has watched a movie where there's two people who have been in a relationship? Just a quick show of hands. All right, I never exclude anybody in my workshops, all right? So let's say you're single. Imagine you're single. You're sitting down there and you're going, geez, I'm single, and the thought comes up into your head, it goes, I feel like I should have a relationship. I should get a partner because coexisting is really important. I know it's a human survival thing and it's just nice. I want to feel good, just like Matt does. So what happens is you go out there and you have to think and feel about yourself in a certain manner. So if you're going to go and attract a partner, what kind of thoughts do you have to have in your head about yourself? Do you have to think that you're a good person or a bad person? Good person. Okay, we'll go really, really cool. We'll go, so you're going to be a good person. whatever that means. And you might have to feel a little bit about yourself. You might have to feel confident or really shy. Which way do you think you'll tend to go towards? Confident? Yeah, because if you're being really good and you're confident, now don't forget we can fake confidence, okay? Realistically, we're shaking in our boots, all right? But as long as we perceive this, we'll do that. Then what will happen is that attitude, how you think and feel, will result in a behaviour. So our behaviours might actually change a little bit. Do you think the way we speak to others are going to change? Yeah? So if you're in a dating scenario, are you going to be talking about, you know, how you feel good about yourself, how you're a little bit confident, or are you going to talk about your nan's funeral? Right? It's amazing. So we only have, our behaviour is going to be, I'll put that down, that best version of ourselves. And from that behaviour, we'll get a result, okay? So this is how it looks in real life. So when we're setting a goal, our goal is that we want to have a relationship, right? We go out there and we be confident and we're talking to people and blah, blah, blah. And from our behaviour, guess what? We attract somebody else. Have you ever found when you attract somebody else that they might be of the same frequency or the same vibration and you've got so much in common, you go, oh my God, we've got so much in common. Guess what they call that? Chemistry, okay? When your frequencies are the same, that's when you have chemistry. That's all it is. Got same thoughts, same beliefs and everything. And then what happens is you meet someone. So now what happens is what happens. You go, wow, if I think and feel that I'm good and I'm confident, I've just got to keep on with that behaviour and I'll get the result, which is a date. So now you've got this. So now you've got this down pat. Now what does this happen in your relationships all the time? Do you actually keep this way of thinking, I'm going to be on my best behaviour, I'm going to present really, really well, I'm going to be always kind, courteous, I'm going to ask her all the questions, it's going to be always about her, and I'm going to make sure, you know what, that I look after her really well. Does that actually maintain for a long-term relationship? You all go blank. No, let's have a look what happens. So what you've got is, the attitude is this. You go, I think and feel, and now you have an attitude about her, or them, sorry. You go, I think she's wonderful, I feel safe around her. So now she's wonderful, or he's wonderful, and I feel safe. My behaviour is going to be caring, and it's going to be loving, right? My result's going to be date 1, 2, 3, and then go, you know what, if I keep on repeating this process, keep on going, what do you think is going to end up happening? Where's this relationship going to go? Is it going to be the same or is it going to fizzle out? Depends on the energy of two people, so it's a good question. So what happens is, this is what traditionally happens. I think they're wonderful, they're great, they're caring, they're loving, and we've got a date. We've been going out for 2 years, this, that, the other. You go, you know what? This stuff is so super cool, I've got to marry it. This is never going to change. This is called the honeymoon period. This is where it is absolutely magnificent, nothing changes. Then what happens, life changes a little bit. And our goal to actually find a partner has resulted in marriage. And then what will happen is life gets in the way. Now, nothing's really changed, but what happens is all of a sudden you don't think they're wonderful. And it used to be like, you know what, it used to be so cool when I used to go out and hang out with my partner. They always used to ask questions about me. They were so interested in me. It was such an attractive thing. And that thing hasn't changed, but now it sounds like this. You know what really irks me? All they do is ask bloody questions. She's always nagging me, she's asking questions, so my interpretation starts to change. Because I've forgotten how wonderful it was to be in a relationship. I've gone back to, it's just about me, and I want other things in life. So what will happen is, now the behaviour changes a little bit. She's always asking questions, she's that, so what do you think a partner might do? Hang out at home or go out all the time? Start to go out and start to change that behaviour. Start going out, they go with their mates, I'm missing out on stuff, I'm going to go fishing, golf, netball, whatever it may be. And then there's a possibility where your result might go downhill, you might go into where there's a breakup or there's divorce. All right? Can anybody identify that pattern there? Ever see it? Yep, okay, so there's lots of nice. So what we're going to focus on is get that right. If we get that right, we can have long-term goals. This doesn't happen in relationships, it has in business. Can you relate to that with your business? Who's been in business for longer than 12 months? Yeah, who's really new to business? Who's just doing a startup and only been here for 6 months or less? All right, so your energy's still pretty high, like you're pretty juiced about getting things done and achieving results, or how is your motivation at the moment? Yeah, good answer. Depending on the day. Okay, that's going to happen. So let's do a deep dive in this. The reason why we do, the reason why we do goals to be the best version of ourselves is what it is. Who's seen this goal setting model before? Be, do, have. Anybody seen it? It's not too bad. It's Tony Robbins would be one of their coaching programs that they do. It's quite common. And what we have a look at, if you're going to set a goal, there's 3 questions that you ask yourself. The one is, who do you have to be to achieve this goal or this value? What do you have to do? What's your action plan? And what's your goal? Now, the problem that I find with goal setting, where a lot of people fail, is guess where they start? Well, where do you think most people start when they do goal setting? Up the top? Okay. How far do you think they go down? Do they have how many of you have an action plan on how to do stuff? Yeah, 1. That's pretty good. 2. All right. How many of you follow your action plan? 50-50. Yeah, okay, so this is where it goes. But you know the problem is, having the goals is the beautiful thing. You get driven, it juices you, you get really G'd up about it. The beautiful thing about goal setting is this is the last bit, and this is what I focus on. Who do you have to be to achieve this goal? Who do you become as a human being if you set out to have this goal? What's the carrot that's being dangled? Who do you become? And that's what it's about, being best version of yourself. And we'll get into this. So what we're going to focus on is just this B bit. I'm not worried about anything else. I'm not worried about your goals or your action plan. You guys will do that. Now you've got to have a look at what influences our goals. Now, influencing our goals, we've got a whole lot of things. What I try to do is I try to get people to focus internally, okay, instead of external influences. How many of you are driven by money 100% as your top value for driving your business? Just a show of hands. Okay, how many of you driven by purpose? Cool. How many of you clear of what your purpose is with your business? Cool. That's pretty powerful. If you know that, then you're there. And the next question is what kind of person are you once you achieve that goal? Have you ever thought of that? Who do you have to become? How do you shape yourself? Does that mean you have to change? You grow. That's a nice way of putting it. You just grow. You keep on going up and you grow really well. That's the best way of looking. So what we have a look at, so let's say if I've got let's say, give me somebody's business idea. Who's got a business? Sorry, sir, what was your name at the back? Ethan, what's your business? What is it? Online shopping platform? Yeah, shopping. Yes. Shopping, sorry, mate.
Yeah, online shopping platform.
Okay, cool. How long have you been doing it for now?
2 years now.
How's it going?
Yeah, going well. Aimed at the UK market, so running it from over here for the past 1.5 years.
Nice, well done, man. All right, so what was your internal influence to actually do this online shopping platform?
Basically to bring my passion together with my entrepreneurial ideas, really. Build a business based on my passion and managed to come up with it.
Okay, so tell me about your passion. So why shopping? And what type of retail are we talking about?
So it's in the action sports market, so surf skate, snow. So it brings together multiple retailers into one place for ease of price, online shopping, ease. So I'm a bit of a cheapskate, so I like shopping online. I scour the internet, try and find the best prices stuff. So is it still working? Yeah. So yeah, I brought my idea with how to make it easy to shop online with my passion for surfing, skateboarding, snowboarding, and yeah, came up with the idea.
Nice, well done. I love your passion. So your whole thing where you're getting driven, you want value for money, and plus you want good experiences for others because that's what you value the most.
Yeah.
Okay. Have you that's an internal influence for you because that comes from deep within inside of you. Mm-hmm. All right. Have you had external influences that have tried to sway you from your goals?
Yeah, I mean, I get a lot of pushback and get people who have different ideas, whether the business model is sustainable and whether the industry as well, it's quite a fickle industry because you've got to be very careful with how you market it. You can't, if it's driven by price, then it's it's all about support your local within Surfskate Snow. So you've got to make sure that you're catering for the independent retailers as well as the larger retailers. So you've got to make a right balance, and you've got to purposely make sure the brand is looking at all the brands, from the small niche brands to the biggest brands. So you got to be very careful in that. So you get a lot of pushback with some people thinking that you're just going for the money, when that's not really it. I'm going for the passion and helping provide an extra form of revenue for independent retailers.
Nice. Okay, so Ethan, that's pretty cool. So you have had pushback, and if I say, how many times do you think Ethan would have been told, you're a dreamer, you're a joke, it's not going to work? How many times do you reckon you would have heard that? More than once? How many times do you reckon you've heard it?
A few times, but I guess a lot of people are polite and they say it's going to be, oh, it's a great idea, yeah. But then you get a few people which will push back, yeah.
Yeah, I love it's a great idea, but I just don't want to invest.
Yeah.
I don't have time right now. No, great, mate, you will absolutely kill it, but not for me.
Yeah.
Right? Got it? So you would have heard that. Now, when you're putting your heart on your sleeve, okay, that's your internal indicator. But what can happen externally, you'll have a whole lot of people that will doubt you. The one thing that's going to drive Ethan to keep on going with all the knockbacks that he has, he understands value for money and good times. They're two of your values, okay? Because going out, I mean, I've been snowboarding all my life, so I totally get your passion, man. I love it. I love what you do already, so... yeah, it's the best life ever. Hello? So that's what's going to keep on driving Ethan to keep on going forward. Right? Now, if you had a different motivator, if yours was more like, I just want to go make money, I think there's a good opportunity here, this, that, the other, how quickly do you think you would have been discouraged to actually go on and do it if they're going, no, it's not a good idea? Do you reckon you would have dropped off a lot sooner?
Oh, yeah. About a year ago, at least. Yeah. 100%.
Yep. That's nice, and that's what we're talking about. So be aware of your external influences. People tell you it's not going to be good enough, we don't have enough money, there's not enough capital, there's not enough, the planet's not big enough, there's not enough people in the world, blah, blah, all that bull crap that you get told, or they think you don't have the goods for it, because they're going to be external influences that are going to take away your dreams. All right, so you've got to be really strong. And what Ethan's really well demonstrated right now is just having those values and driving them through, and that's what we're going to go through in a minute. So this is the one thing that I'm going to get you to do. So perfect timing. This is a little goal setting model that we're going to do. Now, I've come up here with weight loss, and I'm going to share a story with you. So this is what happened with a client. You'll do this in a minute. This is the 5 questions that you can ask yourself at any point in your life to see what's happening. I put up their example weight loss, and this is a client that I had in a clinic. I had a client come in, and he says, Tony, he goes, I'm gonna lose some weight. Now, he was overweight. He had to lose about 20 or 30 kilos. Okay, that's cool, that's not a problem. And so he's straight off the bat, he's a great client because he was really... But the thing is, I've heard this a lot of times before. I've been doing this for 15 years. So my next question is, okay, so why are you seeing me for? And he goes, oh, no, I just want to get some motivational tips and all that kind of stuff to get through it and all that, so how can you help me out with weight loss? I go, yeah, cool, I can give you all that, but I'm just a little bit curious, why do you want to lose weight for? And what do you think the reasons that he gave me for losing weight? Health, what else? Feeling better about himself. Go even more superficial, he wasn't even there yet. Be more attractive to other people. I want to feel good and look good. 2 most common reasons why people will come and see you to lose weight. Who can identify with that? Yeah? All right, everybody can on the planet, so it's quite healthy. So I go, yeah, look, I get that you want to feel good and look better. I go, but there's something more to it. And he goes, yeah. What happens, I'll break down a 30-minute conversation of me asking the question why 52 times of why he wanted to lose weight and why it was important to him. He basically comes to the end of the conversation and I've got him in tears. And when we get to an emotional point, we know we've hit the limbic brain, which means that we've got some truth here now. So that's what I do as a therapist, if we've really got to get something. Now, the thing is, I'm not the first therapist that he's seen about weight loss. And this is not the first time he's tried. He's most probably tried about 30-odd times to lose weight and failed every time. Right? Lost a little bit and then came back. So I said to him, I go, sir, just share with me why is it why? And in this emotional state, he looks up at me and goes, look, as you know, I've got 2 children. They're under the age of 5. And the thing is, I go out to the park and I'm out of breath. And I can't play around with them. And that really upsets me. And I go, okay. Why does that worry you for? And then he looks down and he looks into me and he goes, My uncle died 4 years ago, and we've got a cardiovascular problem within our family. So that means we suffer from heart attacks and things like that, and weight gain's one of the predecessors to actually have that. And he goes, I want to be there for my kids. I love my kids more than anything, and if I don't lose weight, it means I won't be around there for the rest of my life. So I said, okay, cool. We've got a really good why. We know why you're going to lose weight this time. Now, at this point here, does he need me anymore after that one session? No. He gets it. He had to tap into why he wanted to do it. So this is a process that we go through. This is what I'd like you all to do for about 3 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, is do this. Write down your goal, whatever it may be. The next question is, what pain or fear do I associate change in this area? So for this gentleman here, the pain and fear that he associated in this area, number one was, guess what he liked doing Friday afternoons after work? Going out having beers. So the biggest thing was all his mates, he goes, I'm going to lose my friends because I can't go and have beers with them because I'm trying to lose weight. All right? Then we said, how realistic is that? And if you keep on doing that, what's the end result going to be? Are you going to lose any weight, or are you going to be on the same thing? So what sacrifices do you have to make? And there's a whole lot of other ones to do. The third question here is, what will it cost me if this doesn't change? Now, for him, it was quite easy. It means he doesn't get to hang out with his kids when he's older. So that's quite an easy one to get onto. What are the benefits I could gain by having this change? Now, when I asked him this question here, what benefits could he gain by having this change? He actually lit up and he went, I'm going to see my kids, I'll be there at the 21st, I'll see him graduate from university, I'm going to be a grandparent. That's going to be so super cool. So he could actually predict the future of where he was going, and that was a really powerful thing. And the last thing was what value am I honouring? So what value was he honouring in himself? What is it? Family. Family was the number one value that this gentleman had, but he hadn't realised it. So when you were saying more time with your son? Okay. So when we talk about things like this, it's really funny because family is one of the best things, but you know what we'll do is when we set goals, we tend to push family aside, whereas that's the thing that we need the most. The more time and energy, if that's a value of yours, that's what you got to hold on to, and that's where you make it a bit more of a priority and going, boom, how do I do it? How do I get in there? So that I use that with a lot of clients. I'll mix it up depending on the client themselves. I do it with business owners, I do it with leaders, I do it with CEOs, and the whole lot. And these 5 questions will get you refocused on what it is. And I asked this question, and I just asked a question, a director of a company that I was talking to that got managed sideways in the organisation. Okay, managed sideways means it's not a positive thing, right? It means you're asked to leave a department and go somewhere else. That's basically it. And this is a national company. So I go, well, what's your goal? You're in this situation, what do you want to do? Because they made a few mistakes. And they go, well, I want to become a better leader. Fine, got it. What fear or pain do I associate in this area? I have to study, I have to apply myself, I have to change and not be an a-hole. Because he identified that really quickly. And that was really good of him, that was really courageous of him for doing that. And we went through this pattern again, and he's moved sideways, and actually he just got promoted the other day. So little things like this can get you use it when you're at your lowest low, not at your highest high. And that's going to help you take out those steps there. Pretty easy? Do everybody get to put them down? Look, you're all, I like how you're all like it and going, geez, okay, this makes sense, this is cool. How's this landing for you guys? Just being cautious of time. Making sense? Yeah, okay. And normally at this point of any time I do this workshop, there's a lot of times where the energy in the room goes down, which is a really good indicator for me, because it means you're thinking. And there's somewhere along that you've already identified something that you want to change or something you want to believe or do it. And that's really, so hold that space within yourself. And just think about it, process it. This stuff here takes a while. This is not a 2-minute fix. This is something that you've got to do daily, and you work on it, and you'll learn little key strategies on how to tap into that. So before I move on, and I can't blank that, are there any questions on that last slide? No. All pretty clear? Has it made you think? Just a nod if it's made you think a little bit. We're looking at an introspective look. Okay, cool. All right, so how do you set yourself up for success? This is the way you do it. All right, just to show our hands again. Who's our goal setters again? Just put your hands up. Fantastic, I love it. I love it already. When I say make them visible, who's got a vision board or anything like that at home? Yep, cool. Vision boards are great. Okay, they're really, really important. If you don't have one, basically it's just a board, you put up pictures and do whatever you want for all your goals. For your written goals, I actually have my written goals in front of me and I look at them every day. I've got 6 areas of my life that I want to focus on, and especially I look at them the most whenever I'm having a doubtful day. So you know how it's 50-50 with business? Look at it every day and it'll get you refocused very quickly. All right, so you do the first exercise where you go through those 5 questions, get clear on what the value is that's driving it. Once you get that, then you can start making it visible and you'll connect straight away. I know why I'm doing this. I know why I'm building a business. And like Ethan was saying before, he goes, it becomes unshakable. You'll get past all the no's a lot quicker. So that will work there. Feel them, do them, be them. That means start behaving in the way that you want to be. And people will start to gravitate towards you. If you believe in yourself, you believe in your product, but you're also open to learning and actually open to collaboration as well, you'll do really, really, really well. Okay, the whole thing about a startup is collaboration. Understand and value them is a really important thing. If you've got your goals and you understand the purpose why you're doing it, and you can put the value in there, that's when you strengthen it once again. I go over my values all the time. My values are quite simple. I have 3 values that I operate from. It's connection, education, and humour. So what I do is everything in my business life, everything in my personal life, whatever it may be, the foundations for my life is I need to connect with myself and with others. All right? So connecting with myself, who am I? What are my values? All right? Education, I love to learn, but I also love to pass on knowledge as well. So that's really important for me. I've got to be in that industry. Humour, I think humour, look, I do stand-up comedy and you guys can tell because I'm absolutely hilarious. Like, so you laughed, you can come to my next gig. I've got one tonight, by the way, so front row seats for you. No, humour's very important for me. I think humour, like being a psychologist, I understand. If you can make somebody laugh at their lowest lows and they can see the humour in their pain, you're on the way to actually getting healed. And I know that's a difficult thing because I've had some really extreme cases, and just think of your worst case scenario, and after a few sessions you go, okay, can we see the funny in that? And you don't say it like that, but then you humanise it and then you can move on. So humour is very, very important. Absolutely love it. Take action. That's most probably one of the most important things is make sure you do things. Just don't set the goal. You've got to do stuff. So if you're going to go lose weight, go to the gym. Eat differently. Do whatever it is. Just don't talk about it. And I think the last bit's really important is share them. How many people share their goals? Yep. Excellent. How's that working for you? Making yourself accountable. Yeah, absolutely. And do that. Do it with a loved one. Do it with a family. Share them. Just go, you know what? This is what I want to achieve in my life. This is the person I want to be. This is what I want to stand for. Share that with people and people will look at you in a different light, in the light that you want to be perceived. By the way, nobody can read your mind. So if you're sitting there going, oh man, don't they just know? If they only knew what was in my head, they know how awesome I am. No, we don't. You need to tell people what your values are. You need to tell people what your goals are. And they will, guess what, help you get there. All right? So ladies and gents, that's pretty much it for today. What I want to share with you, 2 most important things is, if you're going to do that, have a look at what your values are. Who do you have to be self-driven with your goals? So what are the values you have to take on board? You've got 5 easy questions to get there. And then just setting yourself up for success is just make sure they're really simple strategies. Now, I do this professionally. So that means I get clients come in, I do it with leadership and presentation skills, and I help people connect with themselves so they can make better decisions. That's all it comes down to. We live in a reactive environment and we've got to make decisions all the time. How do you make the right decision? I help you get in touch with who you are so you can go along with confidence and do that. I love what I do, absolutely love it. So ladies and gents, take that away with you. That's pretty much, if you have to ask me any questions at all, I'll hang out for another half an hour. Email me, get me on one of those forms of social media. My door is always open at Fishburners, because I'm new to Fishburners. I've actually opened up mentoring sessions where you can come along on a Friday morning, once a fortnight, free 30 minutes. I hang out and I just help people get clear on either what their pitch is, what their story is, who they are, what their values are, and just get you to move a little bit quicker towards whatever your goals are in your startup, your business, personal life. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be really honest with you. Everybody comes to me with a business, a corporate or a startup sort of issue. What it ends up becoming 11 times out of 10, which is an impossibility, is family and personal. I deal with some of the largest CEOs in the country, and we will talk about what's happening with staff, communication between staff and everything like that, and it'll always come back to something that's happening at home. And they understand once that foundation's cracked at home, it will transpire into work. So that we work on that a lot. That's being brutally honest, and I love holding that space for human beings, going, you know what, it's cool, let's get through this. And once that fixes, the rest fixes it. Right? So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for that. That's it for today. Are there any questions whilst we're here? Go on, Mark. You went like that? Yes, sir.
As opposed to something you have an inclination for, what's a value exactly?
That's a really good question. What is a value? A value is something that gives you purpose. It's something that drives you. Okay, it's something that's innate. And with a value, your values will be there. They've actually been given to you since day dot, but you've forgotten it. So for mine, connection, education, and humour. Okay, for me to connect as a kid was always really important. The other thing I did was I had this amazing ability on how to get people that didn't want to get along with me to actually work out strategies. Go, how can we get along, right? And I did that as a kid really well. Mum and Dad used to spin out. And then knowledge, I'd always sit down and listen to somebody's story. Always. I was just fascinated. Like, tell me how you did this. And then I'd want to go tell others. Always did that as a kid. Humour, we grew up with humour. So anything that was funny. So then what happens was I sat down with myself and I got really fair income. And I went, how do these things work with me? How does it transpire in my life? And it works really well. So if I had the value, if I had an external factor come in and try to get, let's say it was money, right? Because money's never been a big influence for me. But it's something I do want, don't get me wrong. Definitely want money. But if I had that as number one, it would go against my innate value system. It wouldn't work for me. And I'd be upset, I'd be angry, I'd be disgruntled. Life wouldn't be as good as I. So the way I resonate with my values is I look at my happiness within me. So, and that's a journey for you to do. There's no silver bullet here. Yeah.
It's not like an ethical. I mean, to me, a value is an ethical. We do this because I'm involved in this startup because I want to make it easier for people to get their opinions out there or something like that. So it's not really a personal thing. Like I like to connect with people. It's just I want to help people. So is that a value or I'm just a big?
Yeah, contribution. Contribution's a big value. For you to contribute, you feel worthy as a human being. Yeah? If you didn't, I always look at, whenever I do, it's a really good question. When I look at setting people's values, I ask this one question here. What's something that really annoys you, that really pisses you off? Right? And that's how you work out what your value is, because you go the opposite of that. So you like one really easy one is like, who hates liars? Who hates it when you get lied to? Okay, if that really irks you, trust is going to be one of your values. Okay? But then you've got to have a look at why it irks you so much. That's the killer. So I had this with trust, right? I used to hate lies. Who hates a liar? Like really, yeah. Is it a game changer for you?
Me.
Yeah, it puts a line, yeah, so there's that element of doubt now about the relationship you're going to have. I love that. The window goes up a little bit. Yeah, sure, I can still hear you. This is what I discovered, right? And then I read up on it. It was quite true. It used to be a deal breaker for me in relationships. Lying. Bang, that's it. We're out of here. Then I sat down with myself and I went, why am I so pissed off about lying? And I really looked into it. And then I discovered this about myself. I lie to myself all the time. I make so many promises to myself. I'm always better than what I am here. And I never keep to my promises. I'm always going to be fitter. I'm always going to be richer. I'm always going to be more loving. I'm never going to have an argument. I'll agree with everybody. That is BS. I lie to myself all the time. And what happens internally, I get really angry with myself. And what I'm really saying is the reason why I used to get really angry with lies, because I could identify with that value within me? So that was a whole flip around that. So it's pretty interesting. So it's a really good question on values. Thank you for asking that. Sorry, what was your name?
Stuart.
Stuart, thank you for Stuart. Any others? Have we got time for any others? Yeah, okay. One or two more. Who else? You go for it.
About the multiple goals, how do you fix mix with values and have these multiple goals and achieve all of them?
Really good question. How do you have multiple goals and achieve all of them? What you have to do is actually get quite disciplined. So discipline's a beautiful thing, and everybody avoids discipline. But you know what? Discipline is your way to freedom. Yeah? So what you do is you prioritize. When you have, let's say, I've got 6 different areas in my life, right? So it'll be finances, family, career, blah, blah, the whole lot, right? What you do is that you actually put time aside. You invest the time into yourself by putting time aside each day. I'm going to do an hour of this today. I'm going to do 30 minutes of this, knowing that it's a stepping stone towards my overall goal. Now what happens is, if I don't do that, and if you don't, 2 things will happen. You get disgruntled with yourself and you get rid of that goal, and you'll say it's not important anymore, right? Yeah, I like how you're nodding your head there. Absolutely. Now, I remember I listened to a really cool podcast with Russell Brand and Tony Robbins, right? And they talked about this specifically. And Russell Brand, if you guys don't know who do you know who Russell Brand is? Yeah, stand-up comedian, great guy. Used to be a heroin junkie, just to put into perspective. Guy's one of the most spiritual dudes on the planet now. He's absolutely beautiful, been clean for 14 years. And he's talking to Tony Robbins, and he goes, I have goals, I have a plan for my life. And he stops himself and he catches himself. And he goes, yeah, that's right. I actually call it a program. I've got my own program. He goes, because what I've come to realize, I need the discipline to have a program to become the better version of myself. If I don't have that program, guess who's got the program for me? Yeah, it was someone else. It's either a corporation, society, government, or whatever. So it will pull you in those external influences. So what you've got to do is work out what you want. Why does it suit a purpose for you? Why do you value it? And always think about this. If you had the discipline to do all the things that you promised to yourself, how are you going to look in 20 years' time, 30 years' time? Right? But if you keep on doing everything the same now and not changing a thing, how does your life look? I know, it's a really simple question, so they're the ones that you got to, if you ask yourself those questions time and time again, then you'll start to move towards where you want to go to. All right, don't forget, the brain's going to move towards pleasure and away from pain. All right, so yeah, you got to go against the wiring of the brain. All right, one last question, and then we've got to rock and roll. Anyone? Counsellor, you got to have one. Really?
So before you have identified who you are, what you're supposed to do, like you're just going and trying to figure out what is it that you're supposed to do next. But do you stop?
Wow.
Like, do you settle at some point? Or do you just go on and on? Sorry.
Okay, no, good question. Okay, at what point? You never stop. As a human organism, you always grow. The day that you stop growing is the day you die. That's as simple as it gets. So you have to keep on moving and growing, moving and growing, moving and growing. That's just life. That's evolution. Like, you have a look at older people where they stop in this paradigm, this time, and they just go, and all they'll talk about is back in my day. That's how they start their sentences, right? Because they've never thought forward, they've never moved, they've ever... So keep it, the growth path that you're on is amazing. I really like you. You should write a book on this, just like, how you've gone from kids, being a psychotherapist, and the whole lot, and where you want to go with physics as well. So is it quantum physics that you want to do, or just physics?
Yes,
Yeah. So I can see where you're going with that. Okay, so you'll keep on evolving in that space, right? So yeah, very good question. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for today. If you ever need me, just get me. All right, cheers. See you later.